Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's video I want to talk to you about one of the upcoming improved specs in 9.0.5, the Holy Priest. In fact, some people have already sort of been copping onto this, I think. I was laughing because as I was sitting down to record this video, I was looking at my comments, and I literally just got a comment from Big Perm 6999. Maybe it's supposed to be 6,999. I don't know exactly what he's memeing on there, but smashing Holy Priest and Mythic Pluses get so many compliments, it's unreal. So there we go. One commenter is already on to the Holy Priest game. And then I was actually kind of interested because I looked at the data from Raider.io, and funny enough, this shocked me. But for the overall population of healers across all Mythic Plus runs, so all difficulties, all affixes, whatever, Holy Priest is in there 12%, 12.1%. It's obviously not staggering numbers. I mean, there are 6 healing specs. The average, if they were distributed evenly, would be, what, 16.666%, repeating, of course. So 12%, it's only a little bit below that. I mean, Discipline Priest is at 14.4%. It's only slightly ahead. So yeah, I mean, I think Holy Priest is doing a reasonable job. I honestly expected it to be an awful lot lower than that. So there you are. That data, of course, is from patch 9.0.2, whatever we're on right now, right? Patch 9.0.5, though, that's where we're seeing some Holy Priest buffs, which are going to make a pretty big difference. The first thing getting buffed in the patch is the Flash Concentration Legendary. You'll actually see this a lot here in the gameplay in the background. It's the weak aura there on the left at the top. That goes up to 5 stacks, right? And then goes all glowy and flashy when it's about to expire. The way that this works is that whenever you cast Flash Heal, which is your fast mana-intensive heal, it's going to reduce the cast time of heal, the normal heal, by 0.2 seconds and increase the healing of the normal heal by 3%, and that stacks up to 5 times. So at 5 stacks, it's taking heal, which is your really slow heal, that's very mana efficient, but it just takes time to cast. It's making that 1 second faster, and also increasing the healing by 15%. That doesn't sound amazing, but when you actually sit down and do the maths, I did a video on this a couple of days ago. Go check that out if you're a healing nerd or you just want to learn more about healing works, how healing works. But we broke it down, and what we actually saw there by breaking down all the numbers is that by reducing the cast time of heal this much, and even that slight buff to its healing output, suddenly heal, which is your really slow, mana efficient, but you know, it's not doing too much. It's your filler spell. This legendary turns it into an incredibly powerful spell. Okay, it's not as good as your major cooldowns, but it becomes absolutely insane. In fact, your AoE healing, this is hilarious to me, with Flash Concentration, you actually will do as much AoE healing, just casting your super mana efficient heal, as you will spamming Prayer of Healing, which is your big spammable AoE heal. You do as much with heal and just healing people individually. It's that strong. It's just super, super powerful. The downside of this legendary, the thing that's being buffed, is that the buff of Flash Concentration only lasts for 15 seconds, right? And the way I've set up my weak aura, I think ties into how I think you should generally play this. I said, you know what? I think that you should refresh this buff in the last 5 seconds. Okay, because as a healer, you're obviously reacting to what's going on, yeah? You never know what could be going on. Like, you need to be able to heal people that are going to die, right? But it's also super important to maintain Flash Concentration because it's so powerful. And if it drops, you have to cast 5 Flash Heals to get it back. Which, number one, even though they're Flash Heals, they're fast. That still takes 5 casts, right? That takes some time. And it's also very, very mana intensive to cast 5 Flash Heals in a row to get it back. Compared to, yeah, if you were just able to cast those heals instead. So it's tricky. 5 seconds, I think, gives you enough leeway where you can save people that need saving, but then also have enough time to get that Flash Heal back up. So, hey, in a 15-second buff, which is what this has been up until now, if you're refreshing in the last 5 seconds, that leaves you only 10 seconds to really make use out of these empowered heals. With this new version coming in 9.0.5, they're increasing the buff to 20 seconds. So now if you're still going by the same rule of 5 seconds, or rule of thumb for 5 seconds, now you've got 15 seconds where you can stress-free heal away with your supercharged heals. So that's great. I mean, 15 versus 10 seconds of stress-free healing. It's 50% increase, really, which is awesome. And also, and this is sort of assuming best case scenario, right? You also have to consider that there are mechanics that you will have to move for. There's stuff that's going to happen in the fight as well, which can interrupt you. And that can be a real pain in the ass. Like I've played quite a lot of Holy on Stone Legion General's Mythic progression at the moment. There's a lot of mechanics there. It can be a huge pain. There's stuff that can stun you for a few seconds. It can be a pain in the ass to maintain flash concentration at 15 seconds. Much easier with 20 seconds. So that's a big quality of life thing. Another thing that's changing is a slight rework to the buff effect of Divine Hymn, right? So I think most people are aware of Divine Hymn as the Holy Priest cooldown, where they stand still, they channel for 8 seconds, obviously reduced by haste, and it just pulses healing to their whole group or their whole raid over that time period. What I think a lot of people probably don't know, unless you actually play Holy Priest, is that what it has been doing before now is giving a 10% increased healing taken buff to everyone that it heals. And that buff lasts for 8 seconds. And every time a Divine Hymn ticks, it ticks 5 times instantly when you cast it, and then every 2 seconds afterwards for the 8-second channel, obviously reduced by haste. Every time it ticks, it refreshes that buff. But yeah, 10% increased healing taken for 8 seconds. So you get the 8-second channel of the heal reduced by haste plus 8 seconds after of the buff persisting. Kind of nice. Obviously, it's not that noticeable, I would say. 10% more healing. It kind of just blends in, but it adds essentially a lot of healing onto what Holy Priest is doing that's not going to come through in their own personal logs, right? Because it's going to increase the healing that players are doing to themselves, that other healers are doing, etc., etc. What is changing then in patch 9.0.5, which is awesome, is that now, whenever Divine Hymn heals, it's going to increase that player's healing taken by 4%, but this can now stack up to 5 times, and the buff lasts for 15 seconds instead of 8. So for the first, tick, you're doing 4% more healing. The second tick is 8%. The third tick is where it gets better than the old version, the old 10% version, because the third tick is 12%. And then after that, it's just better. And the best thing is that when you finish that Divine Hymn, you have left a buff on everyone in your entire raid group to take 20% more healing for 15 seconds after that Divine Hymn ends. That is super, super good. You'll see this is going to be great as well in dungeons here in particular, right? Because we're still in season 1 of Shadowlands, and we're still dealing with Prideful. So Prideful is this ramping damage, this group-wide damage that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. This new Divine Hymn is going to be phenomenal. Divine Hymn was already good for dealing with Prideful. Now it's going to be even better. It's like a free pass almost, right? All you got to do to heal that Prideful is, you don't need to heal the first few stacks of Prideful. It's super chill. Once the damage starts actually sort of sticking to your team beyond what Prayer of Mending and Circle of Healing will actually heal efficiently, then you can just channel that Divine Hymn. That carries you through, 6 to 8 seconds or so. And then you've got 15 seconds of 20% more healing on your entire team. So suddenly your healing is super efficient, and that's really going to carry you through, kind of stress-free. It's the equivalent of a whole bunch of different item levels. It's sort of like the equivalent of being in a Bloodlust, right? It's super strong. So yeah, this new Divine Hymn I think is really exciting, especially for priests and dungeons. It's going to be just useful for Sanguine. And then on any raid fights as well that have that sort of ramping damage, that have consistent damage, Holy Priest is going to be awesome there. Another interesting thing with this build, I know you guys are going to be asking, but I'm running Night Fae Covenant now on my Priest. It's the best for Shadow Priest overall, by a little bit. So I'm running with that. But it's also fantastic for Holy. This is the Simp build Priest. I like to call it the Simp build Priest, where you're going into your dungeon group. Unfortunately, I don't have footage of playing this with a Fire Mage. I was doing some runs with our guild's Fire Mage. And I think, overall for the dungeon run, at the end of that run, we had an Unholy DK and I think a Marksmanship Hunter that had both done 5k DPS overall for whatever dungeon we'd done. I think it might have been Sanguine Depths, I think. The Fire Mage came in at 7k. That's 5k versus 7k. What was a big part of that was actually this Simp build from Holy Priest, right? Or any priest can do it, but Holy Priest can do it just as well as anyone else, which is basically funneling your power infusions into one of your DPS and then using the Night Fae Covenant, because it's a 1 minute 30 cooldown, and then you can use your Flash Heal to put a buff on someone for the duration of the 20-second Fey Guardian's ability, the Benevolent Fairy, I think it's called, that gives them double reduction on their major cooldown. Essentially, it lasts for 20 seconds, double cooldown reduction, like your cooldown's ticking twice as fast. You get 20 seconds off of your cooldown. So, Fire Mage Combustion, have an extra 20 seconds off your combustion. Thanks, enjoy, goodbye. And then have power infusions on them every 2 minutes or so. You can really pump out some insane damage, the simp build. It's crazy. This also works well with some other specs. It gets a little bit more clunky with other specs. For example, with Marksmanship Hunter, power infusing them is amazing, right? Because you power infuse them every 2 minutes. That syncs up perfectly with their Wild Mark, their Wild Spirits, and that does crazy AoE damage. But Night Fae doesn't work with that, right? Because there's no real point in reducing their True Shot cooldown, unless they're running a bunch of True Shot cooldown reduction through conduits and stuff. But I don't think that's really too much of a thing. Wild Spirits doesn't get reduced, so you're just going to power infuse them every 2 minutes anyway. But reducing cooldowns on Holy DK is not too bad. Lots of specs. Frost DK, not too bad. Lots of specs so you can reduce those CDs and they can get some benefit out of it. Fire Mage is definitely the best, though. But yeah, this Simp build Priest, it's nice. As Holy Priest, you don't... their damage has gone up a lot compared to BFA. Your damage is decent. Definitely competes with the other healers. But it's sort of that hidden layer of damage, right? It's that hidden layer of damage that the DPS you're bringing is by just boosting the crap out of one of your damage dealers. That adds a ton of damage to your group that doesn't show up in the damage meters for you personally, but it's really, really strong. Again, Disc Priest also does this just as well, pretty much, though they tend to be playing Venthyr as Disc, so they won't have access to the Night Fae portion of it, but you can do that, I think, as Holy Priest without sacrificing too much. It's pretty good. The conduits and stuff are pretty good. The Soulbinds for Holy Priest there. On top of that, the core gameplay of Holy Priest is actually super fun. Flash Concentration adds that layer of difficulty, that layer of management, in a way that feels extremely rewarding. It was something I don't like about Disc Priest, and I know that like the other Disc Priest in our raid team, he also said to me that he didn't like the Disc Priest playstyle as much in dungeons, because what happens a lot of the time in those harder dungeons, you spend a lot of time as Disc Priest spamming Shadowmend, which is fine, but it just sort of feels like something you kind of have to do out of desperation. You guys will kind of know this if you've played Disc Priest. It feels like something you just have to do. It doesn't have particular synergy. I mean, it's just a big single target chunky heal that's very mana intensive, Shadowmend. And that's just what you got to do to keep people alive, In tough tank weeks, like you just got to spam your tank with Shadowmend over and over and over. It doesn't feel too rewarding. Well, it does with Holy Priest. It sure does, because you're running a legendary, which has supercharged your heal. So when you are managing that legendary, you're keeping up your Flash Concentration buff, and then suddenly your heal spell is super fast and super strong. That does feel rewarding to actually heal people. So I don't know. Even though you're kind of doing the same thing, spamming heal versus spamming Shadowmend, just because of how it works and the effort you have to put in to make that happen, it just has a really good feedback loop for me. I don't know, I just really enjoy that playstyle. On top of just the general Holy Priest stuff, which is fun, of managing your Holy Word cooldowns. These are your big single target AoE heal, Holy Word Serenity, Holy Word Sanctify. Those cooldowns get reduced whenever you cast the filler spells that correspond to those. So managing those. Apotheosis, of course, now in Shadowlands, resets those cooldowns as well whenever you activate Apotheosis, so you can kind of, again, play with your cooldowns and have them line up to get full cooldown reduction out of popping Apotheosis. You can kind of time it and make it work. That is really awesome. And then you just have those efficient heals just bouncing around the place. The damage profile of Holy Priest, your damage spells are a bit more fleshed out. Apart from your AoE damage spells, that feels a bit bad spamming Holy Nova in melee. Not so, especially 9.0.5 week. I'm pretty sure it's storming, so you're not gonna be doing that. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. But there you go. Definitely, guys, check this spec out. It's super good. I will say again, the weakness of that, the burst healing that it can provide, that weakness is going to, it will bite you when you push for really high keys, right? So if you're pushing for 20s, Holy Priest, I think, is not going to be as good as Disc Priest. But if you're doing, like, I think I was doing 17s, I think, in the footage for this video, and Holy Priest is just as good as Disc. It's great. It felt great. It was super, super fun as well. Well worth playing. Definitely well worth playing. And there you go. Yeah, this is an awesome spec, so try out Holy Priest yourself. don't start declining Holy Priest randomly from your group because they're not a Resto Shaman or whatever. They are a very capable healer, very powerful. And yeah, especially if they're a simp, if they've got that power infuse and that Night Fae Covenant ability, those Fae Guardians going onto one of your DPS, especially if they coordinate it. Like if you see a priest queuing up with a mage together in a group, a fire mage, they're gonna carry your dungeon, unless they're terrible. But I mean, if they're semi-decent, they're gonna carry your dungeon super hard. There you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know other specs. I might actually do a video on like whatever top 5 upcoming specs for 9.0.5. That might be kind of cool. I have my eye already on a few. I have my eye already on at least 2 specs. But yeah, there could be more. There could be more for sure. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.